Hello, my name is Jaden, and welcome to my channel. This is my King James Bible Believing Teaching channel, and this is going to be like a short video, nothing like too crazy, about just some thoughts on the end times. So it seems kind of random, right? Yeah, but I just figured I don't know, something just felt like I should make a little short video on this. So I'm just giving some thoughts on what I see is going on right now. So, you've probably seen in politics right now that Trump did that thing with Maduro. He took over, he basically took him captive from the dictatorship he was in and brought him here. And you see that Russia and China are starting to get a lot of beef with each other and that kind of stuff. So, it Matthew 24 says there'll be wars and rumors of war. We know that's a tribulation passage, but the end of the church age overlaps the beginning of the tribulation period. So you're going to see a lot of the stuff that constitutes the tribulation period start to appear as we get closer to the rapture of the church. So even though it's kind of scary, you should actually not be too scared as a Christian because of these crazy things going on. I feel like it's really important that people remember that uh, the crazy stuff that goes on in world politics and the wars and stuff, you should expect it to get worse. Now, the thing is that even though a lot of Christians are looking to these crazy events that are going on as like, oh, the end times, this and that, while that's important, something that I find that's more evidence of the end times is not even actually any of those signs that you see, those crazy events that are going on in politics right now. It's actually the state of Christianity itself. And I'm not even just talking about the apostate churches. It's so easy to criticize the Catholics who are not even Christian. It's so easy to point fingers at the Jehovah Witnesses and the other guys. And those people are evil. And you should try to get them out of those cults. You should definitely witness to those people. You should definitely be a witness in any way that God can use you to be a witness. But something I find as a younger Christian coming into the world right now is that the main problem with the Christians is not actually the cults, it's the fundamentalists, the Bible believers. They are some of the most frustrating people to deal with. You say, well, what do I mean by that? Well, the average Bible believer is just a normal human being. So I'm not really talking about that. But what I find is that, you see, you got to take it from my perspective. I was not raised in the church. I was not raised around Christians. I was not, I'm literally in like a concrete jungle. In this city, you can pick any 500 billion religion that you want. This city, you can do whatever you want. Though the whole way the city operates is you can do what you want as long as it doesn't bother me. So as long as you don't bother me about it, you can do whatever you want kind of mentality. So I don't have that sense of like being raised around a church with decorum. I'm not raised around fundamentalists. I'm not like a lot of these preachers and pastors. Not to disrespect them, but they were in that system or they were raised around those kinds of people. A lot of the older pastors and the older generation, they're still the last remnant of the people that were alive when the world was different. So like David Peacock, he's old school. Peter S. Ruckman, he's old school. Gene Kim, he may be a little younger, but you can still tell that he has the old school stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. See what I'm saying? I'm not disrespecting these teachers; they're great teachers. You should learn from them. Okay, I'm not the only guy in the world, right? But what I notice is that eventually these men will die, okay, or these men will their ministries will wane, not because they're any negative reason. It's just eventually things have to come to an end, right? So when God calls somebody into the ministry, He uses that guy, and then when that person dies, that person will leave all of the stuff that he wrote about the Bible, and it'll get passed on to someone else, and then that person will build off of it. And God's been doing that for hundreds of years. He had the King James Bible got printed, and even though the Protestants were messed up, God kept using the people who were faithful and then kept building and building on their stuff. So you get to the Westminsters, and then you go on from there. You get to John Darby, then you get to C.I. Schofield and Clarence Larkin, and then you get to all these other teachers. Then you get to Ruckman. Now you're at this generation now where you have Peacock, Sam Gipp, Gene Kim, and all these other teachers, right? And what's just so sad is that these men are all fruit of Dr. Ruckman's ministry, right? And I just want to say for a moment, I have no disrespect for Dr. Ruckman. I learned a lot from him. I still think you should learn from him. If like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, because there's a lot of guys that their whole personality is just to hate on the guy. He's been dead. If the guy was alive right now, these guys would not be talking big talk. Okay. But what I'm getting at is that I'm coming into the Christianity born again, without any referendum to any of these people. Like, I have no stakes in any of the beef and the squandering and the politics that goes on in the church, because New York is so isolated. I couldn't be a part of it even if I wanted to. You understand? So for me, um, when I read the Bible and I study the scriptures, uh, yeah, it's not just you and the Lord. You also have to learn from other teachers. But the problem is that what I find with the in the end times right now is that a lot of Bible believers all profess something, but they don't believe it. A lot of them are walking around saying that they believe in the inspiration of the scriptures and that they believe that God gave us the book. And I'm sure they believe that in their head. But when I start showing them stuff from the scripture that contradicts older teachers, I'm looked at as like a heretic. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, our traditional brethren didn't teach that. So, for example, dispensational salvations. I'm called a crazy guy, heretic, for teaching it because of Ruckman. But I didn't. But Ruckman wasn't the one who taught me that. I was already believing that before I read anything about Peter S. Ruckman, because I just read the Bible for what it was, and that's just what made sense. When I read Ruckman's works and I studied under Kim and other teachers, it only confirmed it more. But I get stupid comments like, "Well, the traditional brethren, John Darby, he didn't teach that." Yeah, but he's dead. You got to move on with the revelation. God shows stuff over time. John Darby is he's dead. You see what I'm saying? So there's like this weird mentality where I've discovered a lot of stuff in the Bible that I haven't shared yet because I'm still trying to get my notes together. And you don't have to agree with it, right? But you would think that the older generation Christians would be encouraged by it, but instead they're not. See what I'm saying? I have a lot of interpersonal beef. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I have a lot of interpersonal beef with some people, uh, and they're not happy that I've deviated from what Ruckman and them taught. But these are the same people who taught me that if you find something that contradicts, you're supposed to match your theology to match the book. You see what I'm saying? And so what I'm finding is that Christianity right now is repeating the same exact mistakes that the remnant in Jeremiah's day was repeating, where they just wanted to stick to what they kept wanting to do and not changing with the program. You see what I'm saying? So it's really easy to point out the end times prophecy and this and that's all true. But if you're a King James Bible believer, a real Bible believer, we're the remnant. There aren't many of us, so you would think that with the minimal amount of us that are around, that we would all get together and it would be something. It's cool to discover new things in the Bible. It's cool to have fellowship and get together. But instead, all people do is that if somebody teaches something that doesn't agree with somebody else, oh, well, Ruckman. And it's like, I still look up to Ruckman, man. Ruckman, even though he's dead, I learned a lot from his books. I'm not even talking about theology. I'm talking about life stuff I learned from him. His sermons are still masterclass sermons. They are convicting and they will make you do stuff because it's old school, real preaching. Like, but these people automatically assume, well, if you disagree with Ruckman, you must hate him now. And it's just annoying. You understand what I'm saying? Why is it that Christians are so tribalistic over their favorite Bible teachers that you can't have disagreements over something because, well, this person didn't teach that? I hope you understand what I'm getting at is that the end times is not just about the crazy wars and stuff that's going on. It's the personality of the Christians. You see, I'm a younger person. So shouldn't it be encouraging if the younger generation starts to find stuff in the Bible that the older generation hasn't? Doesn't prophecy change over time? See what I mean? You see, a lot of people, they're just parroting Ruckman, but they're not studying the book for themselves. So when I start showing people stuff from the book that contradicts what he taught, now I'm evil for teaching that. But Ruckman didn't stand for that. He always changed what his theology master book. And by the way, he has a lot of stuff in his notes that are just absolute garbage, like just ridiculous notes. Ruckman teaches that a baby is not alive until it takes their first breath out of the womb, which is just nonsense. And the verses he uses to prove it have nothing to do with the context that he wants to prove that in. But historically, I understand why Ruckman taught that. Ruckman taught that because he had beef with the pro-lifers, because the pro-life movement is a scum movement. The pro-life movement, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They're no different than the ones that want to abort babies, right? They're no different politically. So I understand why Ruckman took that position. One of some of his worst enemies were conservatives, but it's like I didn't know that I didn't that the Bible stopped with Ruckman. So now nobody knows anything about the Bible until after, because Ruckman is dead. You see what I mean? Now I understand that what the Christians teach. The Christians teach that, well, you're supposed to follow a movement. So God uses a movement of people, and that's true. But uh, has anybody ever considered that God has younger people? Like, so if Sam Gipp dies, is that it? There's no more scholars that can talk about the King James Bible issue. That's it. If David Daniels dies, that's it. There's nobody else. You see what I mean? There's this tribalism that I notice going on about Christians, where they are stuck with their favorite teachers and tradition. And if somebody starts teaching something that contradicts those traditions, that person's now, oh no, you can't do that. See what I mean? Now, at the end of the day, a lot of these teachings that I'm going to be teaching this year that are going to contradict Ruckman, it's like I don't hate the guy. I still think he's one of the, if you want to learn about Bible, he's still one of the greatest foundational points to start with. He's still one of the greatest teachers you can learn from. But the problem is that you can't just learn from one guy. You got to learn from other people too. A lot of Ruckman's theology he got from Clarence Larkin. So you can't just sit and say, "Oh, well, Ruckman didn't teach that." Yeah, but Ruckman got his stuff from Clarence Larkin too. And Clarence Larkin got a lot of stuff wrong. So it's like, why is it that King James Bible believers are all walking around professing that they believe in the inspiration of the scriptures? They believe that God reveals stuff over time. And there's a lot of stuff I've discovered from the Bible that I have other witnesses to. I'm not the only one that's found this. I have other witnesses to this, but I'm going to be made an enemy for it because I taught it. See what I mean? I mean, I gave up everything for the King James Bible. Like I gave up. I had a career. I could have had a career. I gave up everything for the Bible. The Bible's all I read, dude. It's all I study, man. Because God called me to teach it. Now you say, well, so the point that I'm making is that the Bible believers, the fundamentalists, they're some of the most cold, difficult people to deal with, and the tribalism. It's so annoying. It's so annoying, man. I mean, like I don't know. I don't understand why things have to be this way where it's like, oh, well, you follow that guy and that guy teaches that. So can't talk to you, brother, about the Genesis gap. Like, is the Genesis gap that serious of a doctrine? Like, yeah, I teach the Genesis gap. That video is coming up this week. But am I going to cut somebody off because of the Genesis gap? Like, seriously? That's how some brethren are. And I've seen it. And I'm just like, man, but why? It's not that serious. You know what I mean? So, now I say that all to say this. There are going to be doctrines this year that you're not going to like, that you're going to disagree with, you're going to have a problem with. But the goal of these doctrines is not for me to start being like, oh, Ruckman is an idiot. He didn't know what he was talking about. The goal of these doctrines is not to slander Clarence Larkin. It's not to slander any of these teachers. That's not the goal. The goal is to get you to think for yourself and for you to actually read the scriptures and for you to actually be motivated and be encouraged that God is not done with the Bible. You see what I mean? Because a lot of these Christians, when I was growing up in the faith, when I was learning from different teachers, the number one thing I was always told was, when you are studying the scriptures, you need to read the verses yourselves. And you know what I did? I read the verses myself, and I came out not believing their teachings because what they were teaching and the verses that they were giving had nothing to do with each other. Now, in the beginning, when I studied these different topics, and you'll see the topics when they come up this year, I didn't say anything because I was ignorant. So I'm not gonna challenge something if I'm not sure myself. But I've been through the Bible. I'm already almost done with the Gospels. Okay, and I always try to keep myself updated on information, and I try to get different perspectives on different people's interpretations when you're learning, right? So it's not like I'm just sitting here coming up with my own thing. Oh, I'm smarter than you. No, it's not like that. It's not like that, right? But uh, God called me to teach the Bible. I can't pastor. I can't preach. That's not my thing. My thing is to teach. And the funny thing is that Clarence Larkin was none of those things either. He was just an engineer, and that's all he was good at, just using that gift. And then he would teach prophecy. That's all he was good at. So I'm just doing what he did, but instead of drawing, I'm just doing little funny YouTube videos, right? So in the end times, don't just focus on the crazy stuff that's going on in the world and the mark of the beast, which, by the way, Trump is bringing in the mark of the beast system, and none of the patriotic Christians are talking about it. The Muslims are taking over America with biological jihad. All they want to do is talk about the Catholic Church. No one's talking about what the Middle Eastern nations are doing to America. No one's talking about that, right? You can run from it all you want if you're in any other state, but I'm in New York. They've already taken over this city. Okay, so it's like all people want to do is focus on the big city stuff from the Catholic Church. Yeah, and I understand. I get it. I understand. But the problem I've noticed with the end times, it's not just those things. It's you, the Bible believers. They're some of the most difficult people to deal with. I mean, how is it that I'm coming into this? I'm a younger person. It should be encouraging that I'm teaching the Bible and finding more stuff. In the older generation, they give me problems. That is just sad. Why is it this way? See what I mean? It's that coldness, it's that closed offness, it's that Pharisaical thing about, oh, well, our fathers didn't teach that. The traditional brethren didn't teach that. This person didn't teach that. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I go after everybody. Just like Ruckman did. Didn't care who it was. If the conservative fundamentalists were wrong, they were wrong. Because this is not about Ruckman. This is not about Gene Kim. This is about the book. See what I mean? And just like the Pharisees and they were doing, oh, well, our fathers didn't do that. Jesus, our fathers didn't do that. The traditional thing that our fathers did, well, we didn't do that. So we're not going to do what you're doing, Jesus. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, I know there's some brethren on my channel that don't agree with some of the stuff that I teach, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with everything that I teach. That's perfectly fine. I'm not teaching heresies. I'm not teaching annihilationism, right? But if you don't agree, that's okay. You can take it or leave it, right? Christians should not be this cold. I have no stakes in the beef between Bible believers, but the beef between the remnant and the this like weird tribalism going on between the Christians is more of a indicator of the end times than everything else that's going on. Because when the Jews got taken captive, that's exactly what happened to them. They got cold. They wanted to do their own thing. They doubled down. See what I mean? All that knowledge. See, the problem with people is that Ruckman was given all that knowledge by God, but he was humble. Now, all these people have learned from Ruckman, and they didn't have his humility. Everything they know was because they got it from him. There's nothing wrong with that. But Ruckman is not the end of the Bible. You got to keep studying, okay? There's a lot of stuff that I teach that I don't teach what Ruckman taught because he was wrong. Am I a heretic? Oh, I'm not a Ruckmanite. No, I'm not one of you guys. I'm not a Bible believer because I don't agree with Peter S. Ruckman on a couple things. See what I mean? From the time that I got saved until now, the worst enemies I've ever had were not the charismatics. They were not the Methodists, the gays. They were not any of those things. The worst enemies I've made have been the fundamentalists. Isn't that ironic? Shouldn't they be on my side? See, that's the end times. That's what's going on right now. So just check yourself. I understand a lot of people they're older than me, so they're alive when Ruckman was alive. So they saw all of the political church beef that he went through. I understand, but I don't know any of that. All I know is the Ruckman from his literature and from his sermons, and I'm looking at things objectively. Okay, so people just have like this thing. Like, I'm tired of it, dude. Ruckman this, Ruckman that. He's dead. This is not about Ruckman. Okay. God called me to teach the book and be me. I'm not Ruckman. Okay. So just check yourself with this whole end time stuff. Make sure that you're keeping yourself humble and make sure that you're not letting Bible knowledge get to your head, and make sure, most of all, that you are not tribalistic. Just because I disagree with Bible teachers, I still learn from them. I disagree with Gene Kim on a lot of stuff. I still learn from him. And David Peacock. I still learn from all those men. Because this is not about the men, it's about the book. And why are Christians walking around professing that they believe the book, but when I start getting into deep topics, like John chapter 6, the Christians want to run away because it's a hard saying. Come on, guys. You guys are too old to be acting like this. Anyways, it's really just sad. And unfortunately, the older Christian generation are some of the most difficult people to deal with. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be slanderous. There's a lot of wisdom in age if the person is doing the correct thing. But some people, you need to move on. You need to move on. So anyway, uh, this is my official public statement on Peter S. Ruckman. Uh, He's one of the greatest Bible teachers that ever lived. And yes, I know he was controversial. Yes, I think you should learn from him. But your Bible studies cannot stop at Peter S. Ruckman. You should be fair and objective and observe everybody, not just one guy. And he's been dead for 10 years. I respect him and his sermons. I think you should learn from him. But I'm not Peter S. Ruckman. And the Bible's not done with Peter S. Ruckman. And there's plenty in the book that I found out that Peter S. Ruckman didn't teach, that Clarence Larkin didn't teach. And that's okay. And that's okay. Okay? Some of these guys on YouTube, Bible believers, they learned everything they got from the Bible from Peter S. Ruckman, and then they turned around and pretend like they didn't get anything they got from Peter S. Ruckman. I got a lot what I learned from Peter S. Ruckman, but I also got a lot of it from everybody else. Because I don't just study one teacher. You got to study everybody. If you're a Bible teacher, you need to know what everybody thinks, even people you don't like. See what I mean? So I'll close it out on there. This is my channel. This is my personal space. I can teach whatever I want. Okay? So I'm tired of these guys bringing up Ruckman. This is not about Ruckman. I only bring him up if I'm trying to bring up a interpretation so that I can show you where things differ. But I don't like talking about Peter S. Ruckman. Because every time you bring him up, people have like a aneurysm. Like, guys, move on. He's dead. Anyway, I'll close out on there. So yeah, this is something just more casual. I just felt like I had to make a video like this. Um, Look forward to the videos this year. Got the Genesis Gap coming up. Got the Fall of Lucifer, Kingdom of Heaven versus Kingdom of God. Got a lot of stuff you're gonna like coming up. Got a lot of controversial stuff that's gonna come up. But you know, give me the benefit of the doubt. If you see my videos, you know how incredibly detailed I am. And I'm not doing this to be the smartest guy in the world. I'm doing this because I love the Lord and I love the book. All right. So I'll catch you later in Jesus' name. God bless all of you guys.